um, related to energy transition targets at 2030 and 2050. Maybe you have identified it. We want to be carbon net zero at 2050. It's the objective of French government and Europe. And so all the scientific plan is connected to the way to succeed in the energy transition. And so there are 4 axes. The first axis is on decarbonization in the economy and in the society. The second axis is producing low carbon electricity. The third axis is about the energy electrical system. And the fourth axis is on digital, because digital revolution we have to cope with. It's not a specific EDF target, but we have to cope with, because there are the GAFAM between customers and us, and so we have to defend ourselves and to design solutions. And it's also opportunity for us to succeed in our work, because we have HPC possibility, we have quantum computing. There is a big revolution in digital, so we can improve ourselves. So another domain of activity in scientific direction is PhD students. We have 150 PhD students at EDF R&D, mainly embedded in the research departments. It's the CIFRE system. It's a system of industrial PhD students. So the industrial pays for the PhD students, and these PhD students are connected with university. So we have to have a contract between the university and us, but we pay the wages, the salary of the PhD students. And I think it's a maybe most interesting approach of sharing PhD students for us. And the third domain of activity of the scientific direction is expertise. We have experts people at EDF R&D, 2 levels of experts people, experts researcher, first level, and senior researcher, second level. And so we are animating the community of experts people. We have roughly 50 senior researchers and 150 expert researchers for 2,000 people at EDF R&D. It's a lot, maybe compared to your center. It's okay. So maybe you can present yourself.
Okay, so my name is Fengfeng Lin. Previously, I sent several emails to you asking what kind of topics we can do in Singapore side, because we now have a very interesting opportunity, PhD opportunity. The PhD will be funded by Singapore government, and as EDF, as industry, we need to provide some fundings to fund the PhD, and this PhD will be a full-time employee in Singapore office. So that's why we have this meeting, discuss the possibility of explore some interesting topics that can be used as this PhD program. Yeah, and for me, I was previously pursue my PhD degree in Nanyang Technological University. My PhD topic is about the operation and control of microgrid and the power system Then I spent 1 year in the university, working as a research fellow, trying to see the possibility of using emerging AI technologies or AI techniques to improve some power system performances. So roughly this is my background, and I now in the Singapore office, I'm leading a scientific research project. The project is funded by Singapore government. It's about the application of hybrid AI in power system in urban energy system, to improve something. So the concept of hybrid AI is to uh, is to hybridize the existing physical model and data-based AI model. So if we can combine the two models together, maybe we can improve the control performance or enhance the system resilience, operation resilience, um, in urban energy system. So yeah, roughly, this is pretty much of my background, my
Okay,
introduction.
and you would launch a PhD thesis in this domain, or
Yeah, it's me,
yes? Okay.
Henry.
Hello, Bruno.
Hello,
Hello,
Bruno.
Bruno.
Guys, how are you? Good. Sorry for being late. I
So,
didn't get the join meeting button on my phone when I was in my car for some reason. Anyway,
so we started presentation. I presented myself, and Lynn presented quickly himself. And so, what about you? So,
Yes. So maybe I study. I mean, yes. Can you hear me?
yes.
Thanks. So maybe I start the self-intro about myself. So I'm Henry. I joined EDF Lab like 1 year ago. So in the lab, I'm working on the topics of the energy management as well as the energy market. This is because previously I worked as a senior market analyst uh, in the energy market company, which is the power market operators for the wholesale market. Yeah, so what I can see my contribution here is that I can bridge, I mean, I can build a bridge between the market and the theory part, what Lin has developed, and see the applications in the Singapore's local context. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So Bruno. Yeah. I think all of us knows know know Bruno.
I guess so, yes. So indeed, yeah.
okay. So no need to present. That's nice.
Okay, so for today we have two PhD topics that will be discussed. I propose something that I propose something that I think is novel to be investigated in the future as PhD topics. The one is about EV e-mobility things, and another one is about carbon market and the big data market. So maybe I can start from the e-mobility topic. I understand the two topics is not within the validated PhD topics that you shared with us before, but I think um, maybe this proposition is also interest to you. So yeah, so for in Southeast Asia, especially in Singapore, the government pushes very hard of the deployment of electrical vehicle. So Singapore government plans to phase out all the ICE, internal combustion engine vehicle, by 2040, and the government will also deploy over 16,000 electrical vehicle charging points by 2030. It's within 8 years. Yeah. And for
which percentage it represent compared to other vehicles? 60,000. Is it 10, 30%? Which percentage of the overall thermal vehicle it represents? 60,000 vehicles. You don't know?
in Singapore, the EV charging point is very limited now. So the Singapore government tries to deploy over 16,000 charging points.
It's the charging points, yes, of course.
6% of the total vehicles.
No, it's 16,000.
Yeah, 16,000 is around 6% of the total vehicles. Currently, now we are currently having like 1 million vehicles around there.
1 million? Okay.
Okay, I don't have this figure. I don't have this.
It's to have an idea.
Yeah. So another market is India market. So India expected to electrify passenger vehicles within 20 to 30% in the commercial segment, and 10 to 50% in personal sector by 2030. And similarly, Indonesia, it's a kind of a market, it's a kind of a country or market that aims to produce electrical vehicle. So you can see the news here. The government officially announces electrical vehicle roadmap on 2020 September, and the production capability of the electrical vehicle will be more than 600,000 units for wheeled EV, and 2.45 million units of two-wheeled EV annually. So this is roughly the introduction of the market in Southeast Asia, including Singapore, India, and Indonesia. And I believe I didn't include the market introduction here, like Malaysia and Thailand. But keep in mind, I would say for e-mobility topic, there will be a emerging large market for EDF to explore something new, to explore something in Southeast Asia. So from the perspective of scientific insights, what I think, what I see is to remove two barriers. The first barrier is to like from the point of long-term plan. If you are EV aggregate EV community operator, what is the optimal location and what is the optimal sizing of EV charging station in urban distribution power system? This is the first barrier, first question we need to explore. The second question is, as a EV aggregator, how do you strike a optimal balance between the safe operation of EV fleets and its flexibility provision to power system, considering different market regulation levels? So let me get started from barrier one. So for this barrier, the key words is location, optimal location, and optimal sizing for EV charging station in a mid-term frame. This is kind of the planning problem. So as a PhD student, I hope him or her to give three deliverables. The first one is deliverable one is to model to develop the stochastic model to capture EV users and based on capture EV user behaviors. So this kind of data, I think this deliverable will be having some collaboration with government agencies or some open source data. The candidate will leverage on the data to explore in a like in a Singapore distribution system, what is the optimal what kind of what kind of sites is the best place for establishing a EV charging station. So if you want get the results, this kind of optimal results, you have to based on some data to understand the most economic and the most optimal uh, uh, location of EV charging station. So the second deliverable is the uh, modeling of the grid constraints based on government regulations on energy market. So in Southeast Asia, there are quite a few countries. Different countries has different regulation on their power system. So the candidate will do the due diligence in with energy market in Southeast Asia and try to model the constraints imposed by the government regulation and uh, and for the benefits of EDF and the local business unit, a quarterly or seasonally screening report will be generated for EDF R&D or EDF Southeast Asia Business Unit. The third deliverable is to formulate a optimization problem so that we can really achieve really get the results of optimal location and sizing of EV charging station given a specific specific power system, specific country. So I think this kind of optimization problem formulation will be based on the first two deliverables. Um, stochastic model of the EV user behavior will be useful to generate to provide different scenarios in the optimization problem, and the modeling of the grid constraints imposed by government regulations will also be a part of the optimization problem. So in addition to these two constraints or two limitations, we also needed to consider the impact of different charging stations manufactured from different manufacturers, and the functionalities of different EV charging stations. Like some EV charging station is more useful, is more suitable for slow charging, and some EV charging station is more suitable for fast charging. So in the phase of planning, you also needed to consider the impacts of this kind of um, uh, EV charging station portfolio on electrical grids. Then we can model this kind of impacts as a mathematical constraints and add this constraints to the optimization problem. Then we come to a complete optimization problem and find some results, optimal results for the optimal location and optimal sizing. Yeah, and this is the long-term frame for EV charging, e-mobility topic. The outcome of this topic will be like reports generation and Python code, and the PhD, of course, the candidate is supposed to publish high quality academic papers on some prestigious journals. So this is the long-term things of e-mobility topic.
Thank you very much. I got a couple of comments. The first one being on the actual location or the optimal location of EV chargers. I believe that EDF R&D already has some tools to do that, because this is not intrinsically a new question, and so I would suggest you to reach out to some of our colleagues. I'll send you some names afterwards to inquire about the current tools. I'm not saying that they couldn't be improved. Maybe they might at least need some local adaptation and maybe improvement. But at least we do not start from scratch in this domain. We have tools already. So that's the first comment. And the other one would be that listening to you, I'm kind of wondering, projecting EDF in this domain. So what would be our role? Typically, when you talk about grid constraints, well, in any case, say in Singapore or whatever, in Indonesia, anywhere, we're not going to be in charge of the grid. So should we, really open the question to things like this, which are intrinsically, interesting and that could be even critical to check the possible grid constraints, and I believe there will be grid constraints. But on the flip side, this is not under our responsibility. So I would, in other words, suggest that you might need to frame a bit, again, in the midterm, as you say, in the end, what would be the possible roles of EDF in this domain, assuming that this PhD, topic will ultimately be of interest for EDF. That's obvious. So, but what could be or what would be the role of EDF, and then when we have this, and the roles could be plural, like there might be different roles. As you said, the flexibility provider, an EV fleet manager, a developer of charging station, whatever. But I would really doubt that one day we would be in charge of distribution grids. So intrinsically it's a question, but it's not much on our side, I would say, to make it simple.
Okay. Okay. So I think as to your first comments, I try to send an email to the guy who's in charge of EV topics, and I haven't discussed with business unit EV topic business unit on the PhD program. So yeah, maybe I later on I can later on I can set up a discussion with them to see if our proposition can be some improvement to the existing tool.
Yes, at least I would say that again, we start with existing tools. So you might need, in the very first steps, to get to know these tools. Maybe to use them, to see what they do, to see their limits, and to see to what extent they should be adapted to the local needs or situation. So avoiding, again, starting from scratch and developing a new tool. But maybe we need a new tool, by the way. I'm not saying that it's not an option, but at least you could start by looking into what we have already. And so, and I would also say, but I will let Laurent comment on that, but also indeed in a PhD like this, we should find a scientific question. I'm not sure that the first one about the tool at the optimal location, again, this might not be that sufficient, I would say, to some extent for a PhD topic. It's more like a regular engineering study that we are carrying out here. This is my understanding, and besides that, again, these tools might exist already. The second aspect of what you say is to me more appealing in a sense of projecting in a PhD topic. Laurent?
I don't agree completely with you. I think the first deliverable is an optimization topic, and so it could be scientifical. It's already been treated at R&D France. We have PhD thesis on the same topic. The second one, I'm not able to see the difference between grid constraint and governmental regulation. Grid constraint, Bruno said, we should not consider it. We should consider it as an input, because we have not the ability to change them. Maybe a governmental regulation, we could have some possibility to influence the government to design specific rules adapted to EDF, and the Ph.D. could be a bench test to try several scenarios. So maybe you should have some exchanges with French program to see if there is an interest on this aspect. I think the market design, the regulation design is maybe the most interesting topic. Don't you think so, Bruno?
Can I say a bit about my understanding? I think the deliverable tool is very complicated. Um,
Yes.
because in the case of government with very strict regulation, you have no chance to influence their decision. And as a third party EV charging operator, you have to respect the constraints, like the government. If you want to establish a EV charging station at some point, the government will do their feasibility studies to see how this EV charging station will impact, decrease or decrease the voltage magnitude, or increase the voltage magnitude, and how this EV charging station will 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 impact a certain bus node. So
Yes.
this is one situation. Another situation is that, um, as a EV charging station operator, you can negotiate with government to say, oh, in your power system, some of your power network is not resilient or robust, and if you allow me to establish a EV charging station, I can use some of my capability to support your operation, to support your power grid operation. So this deliverable is seemingly simple, but to me it can be very complicated according to different scenarios.
Okay. Yes, I probably agree with you. Yes, it's a complicated one.
Yeah. So I think from different situations we can summarize different scientific insights or scientific problems, and try to find a optimal solution. This is what I think when I writing down this deliverable.
That's what I was going to say, is that we have no direct influence on the local regulations, and we are not going to go to the local Department of Energy saying, oh, guys, this is what you should do. But in a PhD activity, there will be public papers and based on facts and scientific elements, indeed, and these elements will be could be used by governments or decision makers to eventually adapt the regulations. So indeed, it's not a direct influence, but it's a way to put on the table a couple of again, scientific or validated papers, and showing the problems, showing the possible solutions. Well, we are not telling what they should do, but at least we point out the questions and the possible solutions. So so it's a long-term objective indeed, but it definitely works. I mean, this is the way we do it in some other domains.
Okay. Yeah.
So I suggest that next step, you send us this description, and we could have an exchange with French R&D programs to show them these topics and to have a feedback from them for the utility of this proposition.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
But as I said, I think the regulation deliverable is the most interesting one to influence, to give some scenarios for public policy deciders.
Yes, I would suggest to rewrite it a bit in the sense of what we just said. And in coming back to the first proposal on the optimal location of chargers, again, I would suggest to discuss with a few colleagues before, and maybe just state that, okay, we start by, I mean, we know this and that, and we have this and that tool already, so we can put it in appendix or whatever, but or put it in the introduction. There are many ways, but at least starting with some knowledge and showing to, say, the R&D program director, Yves Schlumberger in that case, for instance, that okay, you have a sufficient knowledge about the pre-existing knowledge and tools here in France. By the way, it's not only in France, because there are things also in China, there are things in the USA, maybe not in the UK. There are things also on EV, probably in IFER in Germany.
And I understand that you are not interested to use the CIFRE French system to build a joint venture PhD thesis between Singapore 50% of the PhD students and France 50% of PhD students in France. You prefer to use the Singapore University approach only?
I think, okay, hello?
Because if you want to use the Singapore University approach, you need to have a founding in France, and it's not easy to have it. If you use the CIFRE system, the salary of the CIFRE PhD students will be paid by French R&D, and you don't have to pay anything, just the accommodation costs when it will go to Singapore.
I think, okay, I think the idea here is to, because the Singapore government has funding
Yes.
for this, so I think the proposition, the PhD proposition is to make full use of the benefits from Singapore government instead of using money from EDF R&D.
Okay. Yeah, yes, guys, but who is paying for the missing part? I mean, assuming that the local government will not pay 100% of the cost, so they might pay half of it or something like this anyway.
I have
So
a
who is
budget
paying
calculation here.
All right.
You need 15 kilo euros a year. It's about what you need.
Okay, so you can see from here, right? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Converted in euros.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Okay. Will be 37 for 3 years.
4 years.
For 4 years.
4-year PhD student program will cost EDF R&D $37,000.
Yes, it's not very expensive. It's less than 10 kilo euros a year. But
Yes.
you need to have a program to give you this money.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and by the way, well, okay, do you integrate also your own costs of managing the PhD student? I mean your internal cost, like you will have a lot of time to spend with the candidate, and so is this only regarding the salary of the PhD candidate, or
Yes,
do you
right.
integrate also your? I
Yeah.
would suggest to add also your own cost to get a full picture, because it seems quite low to me. If it's less than 10K, yes, indeed, it doesn't look like very expensive, but there's a missing part. And as Laurent said, even a small amount of money, sometimes it's quite difficult to find.
You need 10K a year for mentoring, I suppose. 1 month.
I would say something like this, yeah.
It's usually what we have in France. If you want to mentor the PhD students in combination to the university, you need to spend time. And generally, you spend one month a year to follow the PhD students.
Okay. So what do you mean here is to add the management cost here,
Yes.
like the supervision cost from
Yes.
EDF Lab Singapore or EDF R&D in France. So this is the management cost. I should also include the cost here.
Otherwise, you have to found it in your project.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Okay. I will redo this budget calculation. But the idea is that EDB they kept funding from Singapore government economy development board. The kept funding is 3.5 thousand Singapore
Yes.
dollars per month. This is the highest level. This is the maximum money they can give to the PhD student per month. Yeah, maximum. Will it be?
By the way, Peng Feng, there would be some travel costs, like I assume that the candidate, I mean, if the PhD located in the Singapore Center, which is the assumption here, he or she will have to travel to France or maybe to China sometimes. So there should be some costs also to be added.
Oh, okay, 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 okay. Yeah, yeah, right, right.
Yeah, troubles. I mean, a bit of troubles. So
Okay. So yeah, this is the budget. So I have for EV topic I have another slide. Can I present it? Can I finish my presentation?
yeah, sure.
Okay. Let's see it.
Okay, so just now we talk about a long-term frame. So it's about the planning. In planning phase, so we just now we talk about planning phase, like the optimal location, optimal sizing of EV charging station. So the second one is more on a short-term operation. So um, for the aggregator of EV community, you may want to make money from providing flexibility to power system. However, you also need to retain some capability of your EV battery to ensure the safe operation. So how do you strike the optimal balance between the safe operation of EV fleets and flexibility provision to power system, considering that there are different market regulation levels. So in this barrier, I also divide the deliverables into three classifications. First one is to evaluate, uh, develop some qualitative or quantitative framework or model to evaluate the flexibility potential of EV fleets and EV charging station after you have already established EV charging stations, and assume that you have already a certain number of EV fleets under your management. So you have to rely on some models or framework to assess the maximum flexibility, the flexibility potential of your assets. So yeah, so for EV fleets and EV charging station, you can understand them as a mobile and stationary and storage system. Um, you you can use them to provide ancillary service like frequency regulation or voltage support, to make money from power system operator or electricity market. So you'd better have you'd better have some model to guide you how much capability of your energy storage to participate into the participate into auxiliary service market. So this is the problem. This is the question that a PhD candidate will have to address. So the second deliverable is comparative studies of economic benefits by adopting EV charging strategy and battery swap strategy. So in different countries and different cities, EV charging station, there may be EV charging station and there may be EV swapping station. So the PhD candidate should develop some model or do the quantitative comparisons to compare these two different charging strategies, and considering diversified market regulations in Southeast Asia, and provide some guidance or consultancy services to government or power system regulate power system operator. This is the second deliverable. The third deliverable will be will be based on the first deliverable and second deliverable. The PhD candidate is supposed to explore some unified optimization model of smart charging strategy and smart management of EV fleets that can adapt to different markets with different regulation levels. So in Southeast Asia, in Singapore, the market the market is relatively open. However, in Thailand, the market is strictly regulated. So what I think is to develop some unified model, optimization model that can be easily generalized to different markets with different market levels, so that we don't have to design the optimization model for a specific country or specific city. We can directly use this unified model. Yeah. Yeah, and this is the third deliverable. What I think will be interesting to explore as a PhD topic. And similarly, the outcome of these deliverables will be including technical disclosures and the Python API code, and publish some academic papers. What do you think of these three deliverables? I understand in EDF business unit, they may already had some toolbox or Python code to handle the similar question. However, if we want to explore the unified optimization model, this is not easy. So we can take it as a scientific problem, so that PhD candidate can explore it.
I would say deliverable one seems interesting to me. Again, there will be some, you will need to get in touch with some of our colleagues here, again, to start with the existing knowledge about this, and as we said already, but fundamentally this is interesting. On deliverable 2, the battery swapping strategy, why not? But I'm not that sure. I mean, I'm not that sure in the sense that I don't see this really developing, but I might get wrong. I know in China it exists. I don't know in Singapore. I don't know if it's really something that we need to look into. Maybe yes, maybe yes. I'm just
the idea is to provide a comparative study of these two
yes,
EV charging
yeah, yeah,
strategies, charging strategy, and a battery charging strategy, and a battery swapping strategy. So
yeah.
different cities will have a preference of different strategy. So we want to see which strategy is suitable for a specific city,
You
considering
know,
the local market or local environment. This is
Pengfeng, I would tend to agree, but there's a big difference. Battery swapping relates to the automotive industry and the way cars are designed. There's no way to swap a battery of a I don't know, like a regular electric vehicle. So it's not that much a question of should we do EV charging or battery swapping? I mean, battery swapping implicitly means that you have a specific car fleet that's able to do the, to ensure the battery swapping. So which is extremely specific. So
and an infrastructure too.
And a big infrastructure, by the way. So it's a full industrial question. So
okay.
it's more like so it's not like you decide. I mean, if the car is not able to do battery swapping, okay, problem is done. I mean, there's no way to do it.
Okay.
So you see, I would suggest on this topic maybe to think about it again, and maybe to rewrite the proposal, because it's a question that should come ahead of time. So globally speaking, is the battery swapping the best option compared to the regular EV charging strategy? Intrinsically, that could be a good question, but you need to be prepared as long as what is developing today in Singapore, and I believe in Indonesia and in some other countries, is probably not battery swapping cars. I mean, there's no, if it's not decided from the very beginning, there's no way that this could really appear, unless on very specific and small maybe segments of the market. You could have battery swapping, for instance, for a fleet, for buses, for stuff like this. Okay, but in any case, I see it as a very narrow. I mean, maybe not so narrow, but it's a part of the system. There's no way it will be the entire technology for the whole fleet of a country. I mean, this is my belief, at least.
Okay.
So there could be a question about the share of, I mean, yes, as you say, a comparison, but also trying to detect if there is room for battery swapping. But it's not like I decide I choose. No, I mean, there's no way to choose really, as long as you have the car already. You can choose beforehand.
Oh yeah, right.
You see what I mean? So I will have to switch to another meeting. In a sense,
it's the same for me, but I agree with Bruno on deliverable 1 and 2. Maybe I think the battery swapping strategy could be an anticipating strategy, an alternative one to be studied, specific to Asia and Singapore. So you should have exchanges with French program to see if they would be interested on this topic. Maybe it could be interesting to have a specific Ph.D. on this subject to answer the question, what if? Maybe this strategy could be developed in China in the next 10 years. But I'm not sure it would be the adopted strategy we were, but it could be an optional strategy.
Okay. So,
but you should validate this possibility with French programs.
okay,
So,
sure. I will try to do this. However, the critical thing is that the PhD admission from university side is next the upcoming January or February. So we really need to be quick on the final decision of PhD topics.
what deadline? What is the deadline?
I guess I guess it's the end of the January or the middle of January.
Okay, to
And
decide.
yeah, to decide if we want to fund this PhD or not. I think the PhD topic can be revised at our discretion, and we have 100% control of the PhD research scope. This
Yes,
is no
of course.
problem. However, we need to decide if we want to do that or not.
But I suggest Bruno get in touch with corresponding programs, and then they could give you some feedback on your topics.
Okay.
So yeah, on my side, what I would suggest again to sum up, so there is a bit of rewriting about the different deliverables, as we just said in the meeting. I would suggest also maybe to start with an introductory slide where you just frame the context and the opportunity represents for Singapore, saying okay, the Singapore government wants, as a funding scheme for PhD thesis, and so this is what it is, and this represents an opportunity. Really an introductory slide. And you will put, say, in appendix or somewhere the budgets, but again integrating all the cost of managing the PhD, travel cost and things like this, to get to a more accurate or realistic figure. Indeed, they would be a bit higher, but I believe we're not going to crazy numbers anyway. And with that, yes, indeed, we can connect with at least Yves Schumberger here in charge of the R&D program on mobility. And he's our neighbor here, I would say, so, and a good friend of mine, by the way. So, and then I can introduce the topic at least, and maybe afterwards to set up a discussion with you guys if he has some additional questions.
Okay.
But I could be
okay.
I could do I would say the in between, between you guys and Yves at least.
Okay. All right. Okay. So actually, there's another PhD topic about the market, and I guess you don't have time.
Yes.
No, today
we are out of time.
Tough. Could you please set up another call? A quicker, maybe 30 minutes. That would be sufficient, because now we are in the topic. We we won't spend time introducing ourselves, but try to squeeze a 30-minute meeting in the following days with
Okay.
Laurent and I to check the second topic here.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Then we can end up here temporarily.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you,
Yes.
guys. Thank you
have to.
anyway.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. Cheers.